In just a minute. Thank you for being here today. We'll get started in just one more minute. To take the time to be here today. We are thrilled to have you. My name is Amanda Miller and I work with the Leadership Northern Colorado program. Thank you for joining us for the leadership moment today. We want to recognize Canvas Credit Union, our sponsor. They help pull this program together and support all the work that we do throughout the year. And want to also extend a thank you to the Leadership Northern Colorado Steering Committee for the details and all the connections they have through our region for helping build an incredible program. Special thank you to the Leadership Moment Committee. Scott McPherson today will be acting as our MC and Todd Carl will be monitoring the chat. So thank you guys for taking on that role today. I want to also thank Brenda Lucio for joining us as our guest speaker. We look forward to hearing from you today and I appreciate your time and commitment to this program. I want to remind everyone to keep your microphones off during this session. If you do have comments or questions, please drop those into the chat. Todd will be monitoring the chat and near the end of the session, we will have Todd helping run those questions with Brenda. So again, keep your microphones off, please, and we will monitor chat. So anything you'd like to drop in there, please do so. We do want to extend an invitation to you to join us in May. We will have additional leadership moments throughout the spring and into the summer. So watch for email invitations on how to register and join us for additional sessions. We look forward to bringing other regional leaders to this group again throughout the spring and the summer. So I am going to turn it over to Scott to further introduce our speaker. And again, thank you all for being here and taking time today.
Thank you, Amanda. And thank you everybody that's joining us today. I too thank you for joining us. I am Scott McPherson, and as she said, I'll be emceeing the interview today. Todd is on the chat box, taking all of your questions, and I'll reiterate, please turn off your mics. We don't mind seeing kids run around the background, but noises and other things are more distracting. If you haven't had a chance to read the full bio that was in your invitation and on Facebook and things, please do. I'm going to highlight some of the things about Brenda that I found interesting. She mentioned she was born in Minnesota, but moved to Colorado at 8. And I think that's pretty impressive for any 8-year-old to move to Colorado by themselves. She attended UNC, but simultaneously or about the same time started working at the Armadillo. And jumped forward 19 years, she opened her first restaurant with her husband, Richard. It was Coyote's here in Greeley, which is my wife's and my favorite restaurant and has been since it opened. And since then, she's opened 6 more restaurants. I'm going to try to name all: 2 Palominos, 2 Blue Agaves, and 2 Vatos Tacos and Tequila, which is one of our new favorite restaurants. I don't think I'm alone in being curious, talking to a restaurateur. I know we've wanted to get Brenda on for a long time. And at least for me, and I think for others, we've often thought about opening our own bar and restaurant and how fun that would be. And figure it's easy money and there's probably very few headaches and probably short hours and lots of time off. And I'm sure Brenda's going to confirm my understanding and probably share some other benefits. So with that said, I think we're just going to jump in, Brenda, and get started on. I have 5 questions for you. And we're interested to hear about all your thoughts on leadership. So if you are ready, I think your mic is still off. So I don't know if you can turn it off yourself or turn it on yourself. There we go. All right. All right, here we go. First question.
All right.
What characteristics or skills should all leaders possess, in your opinion?
Well, in my opinion, you better be a darn good listener and never think that you're the smartest person in the room. I think leaders are willing to share their knowledge, but also always open to continued learning. You know, we're all humans and we all have learned things to this point in our life, but I have learned from some of the youngest people on our team. And the key word is team. I don't run a successful business, we do. And the people that we employ rely on us as leaders to listen to them, make changes, go out and be creative and try new things because we want to stay relevant. And the older you get, the harder that is. But you've got to be open-minded and willing to listen, learn, and act on the things that that crew brings to you. I think that leaders need to be honest and direct. Transparency is a huge word in our business. We share all of our numbers, our goals, what we want to complete as a company, how we want to grow the company, and it takes a village. All of us need to be on the same page together. And the more you share with everybody and the more you communicate, the more brought in they are to the company. They start to take ownership and believe in what you do and create that team atmosphere where everybody's voice is heard. Be open. We have an open door policy. We want all of our employees to be able to contact Richard and myself as owners if they need to. We make that very clear. We are problem solvers. I think leaders need to be. I think your team just has to trust you. And the trust is something that's earned by setting a good example for everyone and trying to make those good decisions that impact so many lives.
I love it. And one of the first things you said brought back a memory of somebody once said, and you said, you're always have to be willing to learn. And the saying goes something to the effect that if you're the smartest one in the room, go to a different room. So
Yes.
You can always learn more.
I agree.
Our second question is there a mistake you see leaders make often?
Yes. They are usually intelligent and they've been through a lot to get to the place where they are. But some of the most valuable lessons I've learned are from leaders that I don't think did the right things. They didn't put their people first. Some leaders are all about profitability instead of their greatest asset, which I happen to think is your people. And if you take care of your people and you care about them, the profitability more than likely is going to be there because it does trickle down to your guests, and ultimately the guests sign our paychecks. But, you know, I've worked for leaders who I just think we're a bit selfish, and I think you have to be selfless to be a good leader. You have to have empathy for other people. And I know that we do. We're always looking for ways to improve people's lives. It's important. I think that I've seen leaders who, instead of praising publicly and criticizing privately, they blurt things out or lose their temper or think that that's the way that you're going to set an example for everybody. And I think in our company, we feel quite the opposite. So we always try to follow that mantra. Admit when you've made a mistake, because we all do. And I think that makes you human to be able to tell your team, you know what, I messed that up and I'm going to do better moving forward. We're easy, you know, it's we're quick to point other people's mistakes out, but we need to take ownership ourselves. So I do see leaders make those mistakes.
Absolutely. As an entrepreneur, is it difficult to let go of doing things my way?
Yes.
I would think.
Yes, it is. But you know what? Once you figure that out, it makes life so much easier for everybody. And everybody's got to be given enough room and latitude to make mistakes. I don't think we've ever let somebody go in our company, whether it was a manager or the dishwasher, that made a mistake. You know, just don't repeat the mistake. Let's learn from it and let's move on. So, you know, being an entrepreneur is hard, but as we have surrounded ourselves and grown our company, we've brought on an HR director. We have 2 regional directors now, and it's much easier for Richard and I to delegate and communicate with the regionals and the upper management, and we can get a lot more done by simply delegating and letting go of some of that. You know, you can't be a control freak and be a successful entrepreneur if you're going to grow your company.
Wise words, I'm sure. Our next question, and I'm going to remind the participants to please submit your questions to COD via the chat box. Hopefully a few things are appearing, and we'll get to those shortly. Our third question, though, is what is the most important decisions you make as a leader?
Well, I think it's important for you guys as the audience to know we've got 280 employees company-wide with the 7 restaurants we have. We feel that every decision we make affects 280 people and their families' lives as well. So we're very aware of what we do and how we're going to negatively or positively impact our people. So the decisions that we make are important to us for them. So a lot of the important things that we do now are deciding how we're best going to benefit and retain the talent that we have. And that means competing with the big chains. We brought on full benefits for our employees. When we started that program, we only had the managers on, and now we've got 45 of our full-time hourly employees who have benefits that never had them before. So we increased it and brought on dental and vision this year. We're going to start up a 401k plan this next fall for everybody. We've given them more paid time off. So we've given them incentives to hopefully want to be with our company, but those things come at a price too. So, you know, if you're going to have benefits, you're going to see the bottom line shrink, but you see that come back to you in other ways. And that means less turnover. Turnover costs all of us as business owners a lot of money. You know, to train people just to send them to somebody else doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Keep them in your own company.
Don't train them for the road.
Nope.
Great to hear. Our next question is, what are some of the biggest challenges you have faced as a leader?
Well, I'll tell you what, this last year with COVID, and need I say more, we've all been affected by the pandemic. I think out of 21 years of owning our own businesses, this was the most challenging, but also the most inspiring in some other ways. We had to furlough 245 people at the beginning of the pandemic. All but 15 of them came back to us when things could slowly start reopening and we started to bring them back on. I think that says something. But the revenue streams that we had to create to try and stay afloat, and I don't think we've ever worked faster or harder or with a greater sense of urgency than we did. So all of a sudden we became experts in family meals to go, and we became experts in how to get that food delivered to homes when people could not come out to eat, how to perfect the to-go business. And then when the margaritas, when we were able to sell those in bulk, that was a game changer too. Now, how are we going to package those? How are we going to do this properly and follow all the COVID protocols and state mandates that are in place? You know, it's not always easy to do the right thing. Sometimes the right thing is the hard thing to do. But we decided as a company right out the gate that we would stick to all of the protocol because our employees' health and safety and the confidence that the guests would have in us were far more important than any revenue that we could bring in at that time.
Good point. I have some follow-up questions about COVID, but I think I'll wait till the end, just make sure we have time for everybody's questions.
Okay.
Our next to last question is, can you name a few, maybe a favorite book or a mentor or a leader that has inspired you?
I've got a couple. Well, I've got the first book that I'll tell you, and there's actually a series of books, but it's old school, and I read it probably for the first time when I was in my mid-20s, and I still give it out to my managers now and have them read it and report back to me. It's by Kenneth Blanchard, and it's the 1 Minute Manager. And after he wrote that book, he has since written several others. And it's a progression of, I think that really goes hand in hand with how Richard and I manage and run our company and make the decisions that we do. So the 1 Minute Manager, easy read. I have read it several times over the years, and I think my managers get more out of that book than most leadership books I can give them, because it speaks to you in such easy terms to understand, and its philosophies. So we continue to read that, and he's got an updated version of it too that makes even more sense in today's, age. The other book, Tim Kirkland. So for our industry, and this is very much an industry thing, where the 1 Minute Manager, I think, applies to every industry, even your home life. Tim Kirkland wrote a book, Renegade Server, and we adopted that whole training program in 2008. Remember when the banks went under and the FDIC came in and we all were scrambling? We decided we'd put more money into our business and more money into our training program so that our people understood our goals and our expectations and could offer a particular level of service. So we still use that program today. All of our servers and bartenders are trained with Renegade Server. So those are two of my most favorite.
Okay, I'm familiar with the first one, but not the second one. But then again, I haven't owned my restaurant yet.
You will.
Todd, were you able to catch those titles? And okay, good. We'll get those posted on the chat for people that want to look those up now and later. So is there, I guess there is a standardized training program you put all your managers through. Is that true? What type of things do you cover, or what do you look for when you hire a manager?
I am one of these people that likes to hire on first impression, because what you get from those people is exactly what your guests are going to get, and they have to like them right out the gate. And it's not always about what their experience is. It doesn't even necessarily have to be in the restaurant business, but we have to get a good feeling about them. They have to offer us something from the get-go that makes us want them to represent our company and our business and our product. And so a lot of it's personality. And we miss the mark sometimes. I miss the mark sometimes, or I read somebody wrong, but more times than not, we're able to get some pretty decent talent. And we've got some people that have been with us for 18, 20 years. Some of them are cooks that are still cooking with us. But first impression is really important to us, personality and the feel that you get about that person.
That's great insight, especially in your business, but any business at all. I've never heard it put that eloquently, but I like that a lot. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, we're coming down to our final question. This is a tough one. I have a feeling I know what it is, but the question is, tell us about your first job.
I was a dishwasher for my father when I was 12 years old. He had a little place here in Greeley called Brady's Brunch. It was a breakfast place. And in the summer, he made me go down and help him out and wash dishes the old school way in a 3-compartment sink. And I famously said back then, I would never do this for a living. And here I am. You've got it. You know what? That really means I came up through the ranks, even though it wasn't for, myself at that point. But there was something about it that stuck with me. And part of it is that in our job, there is no one day exactly like the next. I don't know from one day to the next who I'm going to meet, whose lives we might impact, what challenges we might have. I tried the 8 to 5 thing for a while. Not for me. Too boring and mundane. I like to have my hair on fire and back against the wall, I think.
Okay. So are you saying you have had a job outside the food industry? Or?
Yes. I tried being a person that had a desk job typing, and it was for a couple of attorneys here in town, in Greeley, when I say in town. And I lasted probably 4 months before I went right back to the restaurant industry and said, can't do it. I thought I wanted my nights and weekends free. Turns out not so much.
Okay, great. Well, I thank you very much. That concludes the official question part of the interview. I'd like to see if Todd has some questions that he will read off and have you take a stab at some of those. So
Indeed.
we'll open it up.
Indeed. I had a few of my own, but the questions are coming in, so I don't know if we're going to get to any of mine. Brenda, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about developing your leaders? You gave us that book earlier, and that's great. I'm curious to know what the experience of taking a new leader in your business under your wings looks like.
Well, they have to show all the qualities that we've talked about here as far as being a good leader. And we've got a young man that is the regional director for the Blue Agave. So I'll use him as an example. Came to us as an assistant manager. He's been with our company for 5 years and really is a self-starter. He's very self-motivated, very passionate about what he does. And he's proven that just in his work performance. So that's somebody that we wanted to bring up through the ranks, and he has been such an asset for our company. We've got assistant managers too that are perfectly content being assistant managers and never want more, which is okay if you're not growing your company, every year, because someone's going to lose contentment soon if there's no place to go. But we've had the opportunity to work with a lot of good leaders, and it's the way that they handle their teams, the way that they get the respect and are able to delegate to their people and get results.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. Another question in the chat here about your background, growing up in Minnesota. Where'd you come up with all this awesome Mexican recipes that we all love so much today?
So my husband is Mexican, number one. His family cooked. And so it wasn't my ideas, because let me tell you what, we wouldn't have a restaurant if it was me or the food, maybe we'd have opened one, it would have closed quickly. I don't think I can cook my way out of a paper bag, but my husband can, and he's got a natural knack for that. We also have a corporate chef, Trevor Schultz, who's been with our company since he was 22 years old, and now he's 40. And he is a menu developer along with my husband. So they're foodies. I'm a foodie. I know what I like. I just can't cook it. I'll have the people end of what we do.
Well, I think we all owe you a debt of gratitude there for handing it off to people that know what they're doing clearly. So yeah. Thank you for that. Let's see here, Brenda, another question about, can you speak a little bit to being a female leader in the restaurant industry?
Well, I think there's a lot of us now, honestly, and it's not just me. I feel, I look at my husband and I as such a team, and it's we've got different backgrounds and different fortes, but we feed off of each other, and where one's weak, the other one maybe has a strength in that area. So we've been a good team. I haven't come up against a lot of challenges being a woman, but then, I started so young, and gosh, I was 21 when I was first a general manager, and most of my employees were my age, but we've worked with those same 21-year-old age groups, and now we're old. And the challenges are different because the workforce has changed so much. That's one of our biggest challenges, is the employees, of course.
Yeah, I can imagine. Speaking of the workforce, can only imagine how interesting, challenging, whatever word you want to use, managing your staff has been through COVID, particularly you managing businesses in 2 counties. Can you speak a little bit to the different approach that you've seen with COVID in Weld County and Larimer, and maybe what's worked, what's not worked, or just some observations that you have there?
Well, so we decided from the get-go that it didn't really matter what the counties told us to do or said was okay to do. We knew that we were going to do the right thing by what the state asked us to do. And our employees counted on us for that. And I think our guests did too. The challenge was certainly that I live in Weld County. I love living here, but of course, we were told something completely different, which affected the 2 restaurants here. And it made it a little harder to do business as usual because we were following the guidelines, and we still are. And in our county, it's been a little difficult because, as you guys all know, the commissioners then said, don't worry about it. Well, I was worried about it, and we just knew that we needed to do the right thing. And most guests appreciate that. We had our challenges with guests that would walk out, but I said, I want you to stick to your guns. You know, we mean this. And it's one thing to say what you're going to do and another to actually do it. And we did it, and we continue to do so.
Yeah, great. And then I think this will be the last one from the question booth here. It's a question just about growth, both in your business and in your industry. I've read in the papers about different restaurants sort of coming up with different concepts that they deliver out of ghost kitchens, I believe is a term that I've seen, you know, food for delivery only. That's totally different concept coming out of a kitchen than what you would normally think. Is that something you've done? And do you see that being sort of a trend in your industry going forward?
I think it is a trend. I think you're going to see things start to change again as our communities are able to open up and as restrictions maybe loosen up a bit. That's one of those things, again, where we were trying to create ideas that would create additional revenue without more brick and mortar, because rent and overhead are high. So I respect everyone that has done that. That's not something that we've done thus far. We are looking at growth opportunities in different markets here in Colorado for a couple of our concepts, especially the Vatos Tacos and Tequila concept. So I think we're going to grow our business that way. But I really respect the companies that have come up with the ghost kitchens and have been so successful with it. It's great.
I have a question, Todd, if you don't have anything else in line.
Yep, please do.
Actually, a comment and a question, but Brenda, I appreciate the position you guys took with respect to COVID and regulations and safety. And I just wanted to mention that. And my question is, are there any innovation changes that you have made when we go back to hopefully a normal environment that you're going to keep? Things that, you know, innovations that came out of pandemic that are beneficial?
Everybody in our company learned how to be a better operator. When it's slim pickings and you're concerned about controlling your costs, it's amazing how those attitudes and changes in how they run the business. And when I say they, I'm not running each one of those restaurants. I want them to know that that's their business. That we've given them this opportunity to run the business. And they've all become better operators, which helps our bottom line overall, which helps us put money back into our biggest asset, and that's our people, and keeping our facilities updated, just like you see us doing with Coyotes right now. Always reinvest in your investments and know what your biggest assets are. So does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you. Thank you.
Good.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. According to my clock, we're at like 2 minutes or less left. Amanda, are we at time?
Yes, thank you so much. So Brenda, we so appreciate you and thank you for sharing with Leadership Northern Colorado today.
Thank you.
I also want to extend a thank you to Scott for running the show today. And Todd, thank you for monitoring chat and just being there to help out. Again, we look forward to seeing you all again in May and then through the summer. Watch for emails on our next set of speakers and instructions on how to register. We really encourage you to stay connected with Leadership Northern Colorado through the spring and summer. And I also want to extend a thank you to Canvas Credit Union. Again, thank you as a sponsor of this program. Their support helps us bring you sessions like this and the other programming that comes from Leadership Northern Colorado. So we will be sharing the recording with other alumni. And again, Brenda, thank you for sharing the time today. We so appreciate all that you bring to all of the communities that you have restaurants in, and look forward to having a meal with you all soon.
Well, thank you for your support. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Scott.